Good evening, everyone. It's a blessing to see you all and to feel the presence of those of you who are connecting with us on the live stream. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Wednesday night Satsang. This evening marks a new beginning for all of us. Every moment is an opportunity for a new beginning in God. And so let us have that experience together as we turn within in prayer, taking a deep breath, releasing the day to be fully present to this now moment, this place of infinite possibility within. As we open to the beauty of our inner life, our spirit, our divinity, we allow ourselves to see the world with new eyes, to see the world with God eyes, to see all the beauty, all the light, all the love, all the peace and all the joy that is already here. And so we allow it to be. And we feel ourselves renewed right here in this moment as we become willing to bring forth this new earth right here and right now in our awareness and in our experience. Thank you, thank you, thank you, God, for this opportunity to remember who we are, the very truth of our experience. And so it is. Amen. And so we keep that consciousness going and flowing through our time of chanting. God is, I am. God is, I am. There is only oneness. Please join us in singing. Second chant is our mantra chant. It's from the Kundalini tradition, Gobinde Mukande. This is a chant of different names of the qualities of God. These are qualities that we also access within us. So know that they are universal and individual. Let's sing together. Gobinde, Mukhande, Udare, Apare, Haryam, Karyam, Nirname, Akame, Gobinde, Mukhande, Udare, Apare, Haryam, Karyam, Nirname, Akame, Gobinde, Mukhande, Udare, Apare, Haryam,
Destroyer,
Karyam,
Creator,
Nirname, Akame, Gobinde, Mukhande, Udare, Apare, Haryam, Karyam, Nirname, Akame, Gobinde, Mukhande,
frees me,
Udare,
enlightens me,
Apare,
infinite,
Haryam,
destroyer,
Karyam,
creator,
Nirname,
nameless,
Akame,
pure
Gobinde, Mukhande, Udare, Apare, Haryam, Karyam, Nirname, Akame.
Allow gravity to hold you in an upright position, balanced in your shoulders, hands in your lap, down your back, into your hips, down your legs, into your feet, resting in some comfortable position or on the floor. And breathe into your belly, all the way in and all the way out. In this time together, we will move beyond ourselves, beyond our physical self, and sense a stage of life as a flower. In our oneness with all of life, there are many ways that we can experience life beyond our human selves, in connection with all of life, and consciousness that we share with all of life gives us this awareness as well. And so let us now breathe and consider the seed, small, compact, filled, full, protective shell, but porous, where liquid water can find its way in. Dropped onto the earth. Pressed into the soil by a boot or paw or hoof or hand. Breathing. We perceive darkness now. Warmth for periods of time. Wetness. Cool. Warm again. More wetness. Soon, cold darkness. Changes begin inside. Shifting happens. Breathe. Warmth returns. Wetness. And now more changes within. Energy shifting of its own. Moving. Piercing the shell. Probing the soil. Extending, stretching, drawing wetness and nutrients in to the inside now. More pressure from the inside, pressing out, reaching toward the warmth, stretching, growing. Wetness, warmth, light, dark. More light, spreading roots, stems, move into new stems, and leaves blowing in the wind. The rain, the sun, the night, in succession, until from the center of being, something is being drawn out. From the very center, something small, protected, growing larger and larger, stretching itself out toward the light, following the light, the air, the rain. It grows larger. And now it is so full. The pressure is so great. It finally splits and opens. The pressure is relieved, but still more probing, stretching, reaching out, growing. Light, rain, wind, warmth, dark. Again and again. Until in the fullness of the sunshine now, a breeze teases the growth to fall out and beyond its container. The warmth draws the petals to peel back and reveal the yellow heart. And now, the fragrance of its life, of its presence, becomes a magnet to all other life forms. The fragrance fills the air. As the colors on display shine, reflect the light in the sunshine as it bobs, all parts of the whole self bobbing in a dance in the winds, in the rhythm of the rains, in its fragrant call to all who senses this fragrance to remember how it has come to be at all, how each of us have come to be at all, from an infinite source into the light of beautiful form. Breathe in now your own fragrance. Revel in your own beauty and colors and supple stem. You are fully formed, offered to all who pass. For this purpose, you have come into the world of light. And so it is. now. Breathing. Fill yourself and gently return to your awareness of being human, breathing air, soaking in sunshine, smelling the fragrance of flowers, and reveling in their beauty. Remember your body seated in a chair or on a mat, in some position of ease, and return. Breathe. And when you are ready, open your eyes.
We continue our practice now as we shift into the sacred experience of giving. In Buddhism, they call the gift that is given dana. Dana is a gift given to the teacher, to the teaching, so that it can go forward and bless others beyond ourselves. And so your gifts this evening are like a seed. They're like a seed that is planted into this ministry and will flower into a Wednesday night satsang service, a Sunday service, a class, a wedding, all the wonderful things that we do here on our campus and online spirit group. So feel wonderful that as you give, that what you're giving is a potential of some wonderful experience in spirit that will go on and bless the world. And so as we give here in the pyramid and online, we're so grateful for the gifts that you're giving this evening, and let us join together in blessing them with our offering prayer. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. And so it is. Amen. Amen. The blessing of giving and receiving. Walking around with my eyes wide open, not knowing I was walking asleep, passing by strangers without even looking, not one eye did I meet. Something inside said, hey, you've been missing the life you came here for. Just open your mind and your ears and listen to the key that unlocks the door. You stay awake and aware. Now feel the opening, awake and aware. Quietly listen, awake and aware. Now don't go back to sleep, don't go back to sleep. Can't go back, don't want to stay the same. Can't go back, I glimpse anew. Can't go back, not even looking there. Don't go back to sleep. Don't go back to sleep. I heard a story just last week about the river and the man, how he might cross the river every day, and yet it never, 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 never stays the same.
Awake and aware.
Now feel the opening, awake and aware. Quietly listen, awake and aware. Now don't go back to sleep, don't go tired of just being tired. It's time to take the time to go within. You might be surprised at what you find if you listen to yourself, commit to yourself, love yourself, you know you can. Awake and aware. Awake and aware. Awake and aware. Don't go back to sleep. Awake and aware. Feel the opening. Awake and aware. Quietly listen. Awake and aware. Don't go back to sleep. Can't go back. Don't go back. Don't go back to sleep. Can't go back. Won't go back. Don't go back to sleep. Can't go back. Won't go back. Don't go back to sleep. Don't go back to sleep. Don't go back to sleep. Don't go back to sleep.
Thank you, Reverend Jean Marie. That was a little departure, but right on theme. And thank you, David, for supporting. That was a very atypical song that we do on this evening, but perfect for exactly how to open our new series, A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. We're very excited to be offering this. This has been out for quite some time, the book itself, but consciousness hasn't shifted. So, I mean, in some ways, I guess it has, but it's a slow process. And what he is really wanting to do with this book is to awaken awareness and to wake people up. Much like in Buddhism, you know, the Buddha was simply awakened, was simply aware of what is rather than what he was thinking. And so, you know, in this beautiful landscape, and I know as even just walking across, even if you don't have a lot of exposure to gardens or anything in your daily life or today, a lot of traffic or whatever on your way to get here, but once you got onto our campus, I know you saw the azaleas in bloom and some of the beauty of the flowering plants and all of that. Springtime has sprung, flowers everywhere, the azaleas in pink, evening primroses, paintbrushes on the side of the road, bluebonnets are still out there, but other things are starting to bloom as well. It's just gorgeous, green, so many different colors of green. And tonight, the way that Eckhart Tolle starts his book, A New Earth, is with the first chapter. He calls it the flowering of human consciousness. He says, seeing beauty in a flower could awaken humans, however briefly, to the beauty that is an essential part of their own innermost being, their true nature. The first recognition of beauty was one of the most significant events in the evolution of human consciousness. The feelings of joy and love are intrinsically connected to that recognition. Without our fully realizing it, flowers would become for us an expression in form of that which is more high, most sacred, and would become for us an expression of ultimately the formless within ourselves. Flowers, more fleeting, more ethereal, more delicate than the plants out of which they emerged, would become like messengers from another realm, like a bridge between the world of physical form and the formless. They not only had a scent that was delicate and pleasing to humans, but also brought a fragrance from the realm of spirit. Now, some part of your mind right now is going, How does he know? He sure is assuming a lot, right? The very first flower that was perceived by a human brain and whatever emanation of humanoid, was stomping around, however we looked. And yet we could all identify with that description. The impossibility of such delicate, amazing flowers, such beauty and scent. Once there is a certain degree of presence, Eckhart Tolle says, of still and alert attention in human beings, they can sense the divine life essence. In other words, when we get still, when we withdraw from our thinking process and from the trap of the spinning of our thoughts and the one thing leading to another. I don't really think of my thoughts as being linear. I think of them as popcorn popping in my head. Don't forget that. Well, what about this? Well, what about that? Well, and then I'll grab hold of something and I'll try to pry with it and deal with it, and then something else will come and take my attention away. I spend way too much time in my head. And to not a lot of benefit or productivity, I might add. Eckhart Tolle says, the one indwelling consciousness or spirit in every creature, every life form, recognizes that they are one with their own essence. And when you see that reflected outside of you, you recognize that some level is familiar, that there is a resonance, a kinship, a connection. And so it becomes, as he says, a bridge for us to stop and ponder as we do a sunset. Or perhaps if we pick up a beautiful crystal or gemstone and look deeply into it, into the facets, or into the reflection, into the colors. Or perhaps as we watch a bird taking off of a limb and wonder what it must be like to stretch out and glide. We do it in our dreams. Wouldn't that be awesome? Contemplation as a spiritual practice is a way in which we can get in touch with exactly what Eckhart Tolle is talking about. It is a possibility for us to leave our rational minds, leave the trap of this mind, popcorn maker, and move more deeply into contemplating and bringing an absorption into something of nature. Nature always has a resonance for us because we are of nature. And it automatically bridges us and connects us back. Contemplative process, practices of finding a stone or a pine cone or a piece of bark, a leaf, a shell, anything in nature, and giving time and energy, imagining ourselves walking across it, turning it over, feeling the coolness on one side, feeling the concave on another, just really imagining that we were small enough to be able to enter into even the veins of a leaf. What would we find there? A flower, crystal, precious stone, or bird. They inspire us as we see them. In shamanic terms, we see kinship in their qualities that unite us, a practice of shape-shifting. That's kind of what I was describing, where you shape-shift either into the seed that I led you in the meditation, where you become the flowering plant itself, and the flower itself emanates from you. shape-shifting to give us a sense of visceral connection that reveals and awakens more connection with our own wildness that brings us more home, more deeply to Mother Earth. This is where we've come from. It is what we must reconnect with. It is what's missing. And it shows, doesn't it? In all of the crises that we are experiencing on the planet, in climate, in all the changes that we're seeing, that we're all going through, that are affecting us. I mean, it's humans that are greatest at risk as things shift and change. Waters rise, temperatures go up. Eckhart Tolle says, so when you're alert and contemplate a flower, a crystal, a bird, without naming it mentally, just observe it. Just be in relationship with it. Watch it. Just watch it. You know, when you step outside, this is what I love about it, there's already a show going on. You know, I don't have to, like, look at my phone, and I don't have to, like, make up a story, or I don't have to, you know, turn a station and try to pick a show to watch, right? There's a show going on already. There's already life is happening in action. And I thought I was observing, but in fact, I'm part of it. My breath is part of it. My presence is a part of it. I know that because sometimes when I sit in a certain position, I used to sit on a corner of my porch when I was in New Braunfels, where the wind would come through. And every now and then, a very surprised hummingbird would come whizzing by and would stop and look at me. Why are you in my path? And then go, you know? And I'm like, because I bought the house. That's what I said, you know? So it's like there is some life already happening, and I am a part of it, and so are you. And when we get in connection with it, there's healing that happens. There's resonance with it. He goes on to say that without naming it mentally, when you see these things in nature, it becomes a window for you into the formless that is also in you. He said there's an inner opening, however slight, into the realm of spirit. It's a portal. It's a portal for you, for me. Why? Because we are of the same stuff. We are of the same stuff. He says these three life forms, flower, crystal, bird, have been preparing the ground for a more profound shift in planetary consciousness that is destined to take place in the human species. This is the spiritual awakening that we are beginning to witness now. But he asks, is humanity ready for a transformation of consciousness, an inner flowering so radical and profound that compared to it, the flowering of plants, no matter how beautiful, is only a pale reflection? Can human beings lose the density of their conditioned mind structures? Good question. And become like crystals or precious stones, so to speak, transparent to the light of consciousness? Can they defy the gravitational pull, rising up off the ground on wings, the gravitational pull of materialism and materiality? Can we forget about the things we must have, the things we must do, the things we must buy? And rise above identification with form that keeps the ego in place and condemns them to the imprisonment within their own personality? Good question. Don't know. But I suspect our life depends on it. The current trends of living off the grid are evidence that there's a hunger, there's a need, there's a desire. Escaping into the wilderness, taking our vacations. I'm doing that on nature hiking, nature vacations, breaking out of office locations and office hours. We're we're reconfiguring ourselves, aren't we? The pandemic really helped us a lot with that. Rewilding ourselves. We get to go wild. There's a book that I bought for my granddaughter. It's called Mr. Tiger Goes Wild. And in it, it has a whole little village full of animals like elephants and giraffes and a tiger and monkey. And they are all dressed with vests and coats and hats and ties, sitting at a table, walking on their hind legs, sipping tea with a pinky, if they have a pinky, to, tilt the teacup ever so politely and to each other, until Mr. Tiger is bored with all of this. And he starts to act out. And instead of walking on his hind legs, one day he just decides he's going to get down on all four. And it creates the biggest ruckus. And there's upset and asking, Mr. Tiger, what are you doing? How are you behaving this way? And he kicks off his shoes and he lets his feet out. And then slowly, day by day, he gets a little bit wilder and starts running around on all fours, chasing the kids. And he goes into the town center where there's a fountain. And all the picture shows is that one day he went too far, because there's a pile of his clothes at one end of the fountain. As he emerges, like a Bengal tiger at the other end. And you open up the page, and he is stretched across there, and it is a surprise, because he looks naked. You're so used to seeing it with all the clothes, and they're all in clothes, and suddenly it is a little shocking. He's a Bengal tiger. And then they said, Mr. Tiger, you have gone too far. You are banished. Go out of town. And he goes, excellent idea. And he takes off for the woods, for the hills, for the meadows, for the waterfalls, and he climbs trees and spends the night, and he just has a wonderful time until he finally has had enough, and he begins to get bored and lonely and misses his friends, and slowly decides he wants to come back to the outskirts of town, and a couple of his friends are there. They're holding on a coat hanger a Hawaiian shirt as a compensation, kind of a halfway. You got to put something on, put this on. And so he obliges and he wears it. But the town itself has gone through some changes. And there are other animals who have stopped standing on their hind legs and started moving back down to their four legs and throwing off some of their clothes, or all of them. Different arrays, different amounts, until everybody has found a new normal. Consciousness can shift with one consciousness. When you go into your wild space, you never know how you can rewild the world. Intuitively, we know that we have an authentic nature that presses from within to be let out, to go wild, to be freed, leading our lives, replacing the values of our fearful egos. So when you recognize the unconsciousness in you that makes the recognition possible, that's the arising consciousness. It's the awakening. When you recognize you see yourself, the seeing yourself is the awakening. You can't fight against the ego and win, just as you can't fight against darkness. The light of consciousness is all that's necessary. You're that light. So if you look for the light, if you spend time just connecting wordlessly with what is deep within you, try to stop thinking about it and just experience it. Just go wordless. Go outside and go wordless. Don't talk to yourself. Don't think. Bird. Leaf. Ant. And then stop naming. And just what moves? What do you feel? What do you smell? Pretty soon you'll be on all fours again. Ramana Maharshi says the mind is Maya. It's the illusion. This is the illusion. This is all made up. It's a great tool. It's a magnificent tool. It is not meant to lead. We may think that our ego keeps us, our wild, unwieldy nature in check. We should just do anything? Is that what you're saying? We needn't keep commandments, thou shalt and not shalt nots, or follow the ways others have taught us to live, being concerned about how we're perceived, what is acceptable or fashionable or cool, what is successful or expected by this time in our lives, what fears or drives keep us in our boxes, doing what we've always done, arguing for our limitations. Rewild yourself. You don't become good by trying to be good, but by finding the goodness that is already within you and allowing that goodness to emerge. But it can only emerge if something fundamental changes in your state of consciousness. To recognize the truth within and remain true to it in each condition, conscious of our own values and our own purpose. We live by our own rules, but they're etched on our hearts. They're etched in the deep depths of our consciousness, of our conscience. You have your set, I have mine. They're very similar, a little different, a little edgy over here, a little different purpose. But find yours and live that way. It is then that we give ourselves the freedom to see the light and to respond to it. Dogmas, creeds, family history narrow our focus, controlling us, when the goal is actually to expand our vision and liberate the imprisoned splendor, as Robert Browning called it. Tale says, in fact, the more you make your thoughts or beliefs into your identity, the more cut off you are from the spiritual dimension within yourself. He says that while individuals have broken free and found enlightenment from time to time, no mass awakening has happened yet because it was not yet imperative. Responding to a radical crisis that threatens our very survival, that's humanity's challenge now. Evolve or die, he says. We're coming to the end not only of mythologies, but also of ideologies and belief systems. What a liberation to realize that the voice in your head is not who you are. Who are you? The one who sees that. The awareness that is prior to thought, the space in which the thought or the emotion or sense perception happens. Ego is no more than this, identification with form. If I think I'm my body, then I'm sad a lot of time. I'm trapped. I'm hopeless. I'm dying. This isn't going to last forever. See? We are coming to the end. What a liberation to see that we are more than what we thought we were. In order for our lives to change, we must live from our authentic being. I'm sure you're thinking, that's a no-brainer. I heard it 1,000 times. I know that. But how far are we from being fully liberated, fully awake, out of the cycle of suffering? In order for the world to change, We must awaken human consciousness by disidentifying with our ego and allowing light to fill our own consciousness. Because how it happens is as above, so below. As within, so without. To be continued next week. Namaste.
Thank you, Reverend Karen. I feel like we should just let everybody have a free-for-all and go wild right now.
Yeah, you're allowed to go out on all fours if you want to, yeah.
I love the metaphor of the flower. It's even referenced how fleeting it is. It is inherently ephemeral. That the moment you pick it, it's like that's the beginning of the end, right? You know. But then, and the flowering of human consciousness. I've been kind of pondering not only what you're saying about that, but just the idea of it that even it is a fleeting, emerging experience. And yet we are a part of this continuum. You know, just like you said, you walk out and the show's already going on, and it's like the show never stops. But our attention on this particular moment, it's like a little frozen experience, just like this flower with all of its beauty, all of its fragrance, and its tenderness and its fragility. It's you can't hold both. You know, you can. I mean, you can't hold both. You can be present to the beauty and the moment, this little fragile, fleeting experience, and yet it's just a very small little moment in a much larger context. Do you really think you can hold both? That you can be with this moment of perfection, and that in the moment of observing it, it's like frozen in time, but then it's this continuum. It's this never-ending continuum.
Yeah. Oh, that you could be with the continuum? I think I can understand it as a concept. I don't think I could hold it all really in my mind.
But you can be present to this flower, to this moment, to that color, to examine it and go more deeply into its form, into its construction, into what would it be like if that, I forget what the anther, whatever it is, of the very center of it, that is where the pollen sits on. What if I was standing and it was way above me? What is that like? What is this? What is the nature of this? This is a portal to the infinite that you can just let your eyes go soft and just stay focused and in communion with it. I went to the rose garden at Unity Village very often, anytime I see roses, but I was going to I really wanted to smell a fresh rose. I wanted to smell a rose fragrance. And what I found myself doing was bending over, and suddenly it was a child's face. I mean, it didn't transform into one, but it felt like one. And so I just kissed him. So I kissed him and I said, this is totally weird, you know, it's like, you know, right?
Yeah, I think I set my trap in the word hold. You can't hold both. You can't hold this moment of beauty and fragrance and be in the continuum. So the hold is the stumbling block. It's a matter of what we identify with. And I think that's exactly what you were saying, is that we have thoughts, we have feelings, we have observations, but we are this eternal spread, this eternal immersion of flowering of human consciousness. And if we can identify with that and actually stay present to that, then we can be in the stream.
In a moment of forgetting, do you know what I mean? In a moment of just forgetting and being there, that is an eternal moment. You have just stepped across the threshold into eternity. And perhaps with your next breath, you withdrew. But you were there.
And it's a practice. You come back to it again and again and again.
Right. And the longer you can be there, man, that's the ticket. Because that's the reality. And because that lives within us. I mean, that is a reflection of really our stem. If we're a flower, the stem is connected to eternity. And we are, we're just here for a season.
I never stopped being awed by flowers. We planted some perennials last year, and when spring came around, it was like, it worked. They came back. They grew. There they are. So I'm with Eckhart Tolle on that flowers are from the spirit realm, and that it kind of ties back in there because they just delight me so much.
When in 1991, I took a choir to the Soviet Union. Well, it was still the Soviet Union at the time. It was on the verge of becoming Russia. And I actually celebrated my birthday while we were there. And the children brought flowers. And it was an element of some sacrifice for them to get them. But the way they brought them, it was just like this, it felt like they were giving the world to me. And so I just was really present to the gift that they were, both literally and metaphorically, and it's lived to a story that I can even share now. It just really touched me. So you're right. Flowers are this timeless symbol. They're sex organs. They are beautiful and they are fragrant and they are ephemeral for a reason. They serve a very specific purpose.
Yes, an important purpose in nature. Before I was gardening, I just really thought that flowers were purpose of being beautiful and enjoyed, and recognize that they're necessary to draw the pollinators that then pollinate the plants that create the vegetables that we eat. So they're essential for life, really.
For life, right? For joy and beauty, and the magnitude of giving you something that is so precious, and so, like you said, it doesn't last.
Right.
Already, and picking them, they're dead. They're already dying as you're handing them off. And still we do, and still we love them, and we put them in water, and we try to make them last as long as possible.
I think that I am living under that part of the flower that has the pollen, because there is so much pollen everywhere right now in Houston. I don't know if you've washed your car recently and noticed that lasted like a day. It's a real experience.
Coming from the trees, actually.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Well, actually, yes. There's one other thing. You were talking about popcorn thoughts. Did you ever see the movie called Up?
Yeah.
So in Up, the dogs talk, and so it's an animated film, so it's fun and interesting. And then when a squirrel crosses their path, it's like, that's all they see, squirrel. And then they go on with the rest of their life, and so that's, in a way, that's where our thoughts are. I think then, right on the heels of it, one of the downsides of human consciousness is that then we can also judge it. It's not merely that we have a thought, squirrel, and it dominates our attention, but now, wait a minute, I didn't need to do that. I can focus on something else. So I don't know. I think that the flower metaphor is actually a little kinder in that regard.
Well, but To your point, that is exactly the practice, is to recognize you have a choice. You know, you don't have to be reactive. You don't have to be programmed. That is, in essence, I guess, in human ways of thinking, that squirrel reaction is any other trigger that I have in my life, right? And instead of running down that bunny path, you know, and just, you know, and let that just take me off, I could make a new choice. Anywhere along that path, at any point I can say, you know, wait a minute, you know, it's only that, it's only this. I was fine, and I choose going back into that space. And what was that space? Where was I right then? It's like, you know, I'm fine. I don't have to do that. And then with practice, it won't even be squirrel, no squirrel, you know? Oh, look at the cute little squirrel, you know?
Yeah, you said I spend way too much time in thought. Yes, I feel a bit like the hummingbird trying to count my wing flights, you know? So I really need to, my spiritual practice needs physicality too, like through exercise, through music. I need to actually put myself in things that do move through time and then track that in real time, and that helps me a lot. Mm-hmm. Meditation works too, but it's a different trajectory. And I think I need both. You know, that's part of the way. And I actually need Wednesday night satsangs, you know, because I listen to your talk, and I sort of practice the meditation, I practice the meditation, but my experience of it is behind the keyboard. But nonetheless, I'm in that space. And then I have that touched on Friday, you know, so that's like a little bit like a fragrance of the flower, you know, it's like I can come and I can hit the pause button and I can just be here for a little while, and then that carries me forward. Yeah. I don't know if that's true for other people, but that's my experience.
Yes, definitely. Thank you both so much. Let's just breathe in as if we're breathing in a beautiful flower, a beautiful scented flower. And we know that spirit is that same experience of breathing in beauty and awe and wonder and beautiful scents. Feeling our hearts open in that sensory experience of that which is holy and that which ignites our presence. Touch into our awareness of those people and experiences in our lives and on our planet that we would like to see experience some more sweetness, some more joy and peace. Knowing that God is present there, even there, and there, and there, in the midst. And you're invited now to speak the names of those you would like to hold in peace and love, prayerful consciousness together tonight. Speak those names aloud. So grateful for those who have been named, for the gift they are in our lives and the world, and for their flowering of their consciousness, for their unfolding in their soul's journey. trusting in the divine ordering of things, of lives, experiences, knowing that truth for our own life, seeing order and peace and harmony and love. All is God. We are grateful. And so it is. Amen.
And so now let us join in prayer for the welfare of all beings and using our metta practice. And let us speak those words together. By the power of this practice, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they know the sacred joy that arises in the space beyond suffering. May they rest in equanimity that knows no grasping or hatred. May they experience the equality of all beings. May my practice be of benefit to all.
Namaste, namaste, I bow to you. Namaste, 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 go shine your light into the world. Namaste, namaste, the light in me sees the light in you. Namaste,